By now, most folks in the community are probably aware of the pyramid schemes with products known as multi-level marketing companies. Two prominent examples are doTERRA and Young Living, both of which sell a variation on the product I'm discussing today. This video isn't about them. Plenty of fantastic work has been done on the topic of these schemes and their BS. I'm here, in typical pagan fashion, to hug trees and warn you all about some of the more hidden dangers of essential oil use, and talk about alternatives to certain essential oils that are currently driving some species to extinction. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's do this. Way back when I did my video on folkism, I mentioned the issue of white sage and how overharvesting is driving the plant to extinction. Today, we're talking about products that need far more of their base ingredients to produce and could potentially drive many plants sacred to multiple faiths, including frankincense and myrrh, to extinction much quicker if they're not stopped. But before we get into the environmental stuff, we need to take a look at why there's such a demand for these products in the first place, and even what the heck they are. For those of you who haven't had a Hunbot proposition you to purchase their sweet-smelling wares, or haven't had someone in an occult shop press you for their use in spell work, essential oils are distilled fragrances, usually esters from plants. Like a perfume, but usually infused into a carrier oil of some kind to stabilize their volatility. They were originally marketed as a natural, quote-unquote, safe alternative to scented cleaning and aerosol products like Lysol. They're made from plants, which are in nature, so they have to be safe, right? Right? If you've seen a video from the series before, you know where this is going. There are a number of methods promoted by their proponents for their use. The oldest of these is the tea candle infuser, which is exactly what it says on the tin. A two-tiered burner of some kind, usually with a tea candle on the bottom level and a flat heat-resistant dish on the top, is lit with a few drops of essential oil in the dish. This is arguably the safest way to use up the essential oils that you might have lying around your house, as it heats the esters and disperses them in a way that is likely to be less toxic or dangerous to your pets. We'll get there, don't worry. However, in recent years, the marketing surrounding essential oils has pushed a number of significantly more dangerous use methods into the public consciousness. Renewed interest in aromatherapy has pushed a demand for easier and more efficient methods of distribution for folks with pets or kids that are worried about open flames in their home. People looking for solutions for focus or relief from pain, both of which have some very early studies done that suggest the placebo effect might be useful in each regard, are eager to try new methods of distribution to get access to the perceived benefits faster. One of the more common is the electric diffuser. These devices come in all shapes and sizes, from the MLM-inspired personal chain diffusers that go around your neck to larger, more traditional style wall diffusers. They aerosolize the essential oils by running them through fans or grates at high speed, and sometimes with water vapor as a carrier, sometimes not, sending billions of micro droplets into the air. Unlike the heated candle diffusers, these droplets contain both the carrier oil and the volatile compounds unchanged by heat, so you're not just getting a small amount of straight ester in the air, you're getting the same base compound that came out of the bottle on your skin and in your lungs. Sounds great, right? No open flames to put Fido or Garfield at risk. Well, they might be safe from the fire, but they won't be safe from some of the toxic oils you might be putting into the diffuser. I've linked an article from Cabbagetown Pet Clinic in the description below if you'd like to do some further research, but many of the most popular essential oils are straight up toxic to your pets. The ones listed in the article include eucalyptus, tea tree, cinnamon, citrus, peppermint, pine, wintergreen, and ylang-ylang. I've seen other articles that listed lavender as well, though we'll get back to lavender later when we talk about why you probably shouldn't be putting them on your or your pet's skin. Even if the oils aren't toxic to your pets by themselves, they can cause a lot of stress that'll hurt your pet's health in the long run because of it. A little bit of scent to you can smell like an avalanche to a sensitive pet's nose, and some volatile compounds can cause damage to their noses and lungs. And to ours for that matter. Even the candle diffusing method can cause this stress, though it's less likely to cause other health issues depending on the compound because it changes the nature of the substance. The point is, your house might smell nice to you, but it becomes a stressful war zone for a creature that primarily uses scent to navigate around your home. If your cat or dog has asthma, allergies, or any other respiratory condition, the clinic recommends against any kind of essential oil use. Any. That means the candle diffusers too. Though some companies do suggest putting drops in pet bedding to calm restless animals, you might be just making their distress worse and you don't know if they'll try and lick up the oil and potentially poison themselves. Even if your cat specifically doesn't have any of those conditions and isn't elderly, these specific essential oils will be poisonous to them. Cinnamon, any citrus, clove, eucalyptus, sweet birch, pennyroyal, peppermint, pine, tea tree, wintergreen, lang lang, any mint. For dogs, the list is the same. If you use essential oils and are worried that your dog or cat is having a reaction, the link also provides a list of symptoms to look out to immediately bring your pet in if you see them. These are specifically symptoms for poisoning and overdose, though some of them can also be reactions to having it in the air and potentially causing irritation in their throat and lungs. It doesn't just stop with dogs and cats though. As MLMs and other companies endeavor to drive up demand in this new market, their wild health claims have captured an audience terrified of everything from big pharma to COVID-19, and promises of a cure or prevention have clouded otherwise savvy consumers' judgment. A push to apply essential oils directly to the skin of parents and their kids to cure, prevent, or manage everything from ADHD to the flu to frickin' cancer has left a string of rashes, toxic reactions, hives, and ER visits in its wake. Even if you don't have an allergic reaction to an essential oil, which there's always a risk of, many, like eucalyptus and citrus oils, have irritating compounds that can and will burn or irritate your skin. Remember when I mentioned lavender oil? Lavender in particular carries the risk of skin irritation and potentially heightening sunburns. Cumin can leave severe blisters on your skin. Even diluting these oils in a carrier oil such as virgin olive oil, as is pushed on several alternative health sites, isn't enough to ensure it's safe. You might just not have enough in the carrier to feel the toxic effects, and if you have any open wounds on your skin, the poisonous compounds can still get into your system. Children especially could accidentally ingest these oils, some of which contain compounds like salicylate, the active component in aspirin. The dose makes the poison in these cases, and a link to Nebraska Medicine site cites a 4-year-old who landed in the ER after her mom gave her a homemade mix of birch and a carrier oil to help with pain. Too much salicylate will cause a major medical emergency, especially in a small child. It's just not worth it. Though the site says it can be safe to dilute oils and use them on your hands and feet, not your face or mucous membranes ever, why take the risk? Especially given how concentrated many of these substances are and how there are safer ways to get that sent into the air. This brings me to the next use method popularized by the big companies: cooking. The same site stresses to never ingest essential oils, as the concentrated nature of them is likely to cause a toxic reaction or immediately induce anaphylaxis in somebody who may never have reacted to the substance before. If oils can cause chemical burns undiluted on your skin, what makes you think swallowing them will be any safer? That's a lot of mucous membranes that they're coming into contact with. Yet, a quick Google search will find a ton of recipes using edible sounding oils like oregano, basil, mint, nutmeg, and others. The thing is, these oils are not the same as the plants they come from. Yeah, the compounds exist in said plants and make them smell nice to humans, but that doesn't mean the concentrated esters are safe. You don't want to end up like the 4-year-old vomiting up her whole day's meals because you didn't feel like running to the store to pick up some dried or fresh spices. Despite the claims that many manufacturers and hunbots make, very little safety testing has ever been done on the concentrated compounds found in essential oils, and which compounds are concentrated in what amounts can vary from bottle to bottle. As the FDA site I linked in my description below says, these oils are not regulated like drugs and don't even have the minimal regulation that supplements are given. They're not rated for ingestion. They're approved for the market as a scent product to smell like a scented candle or perfume. These companies don't do the safety testing on ingestion because they don't have to. That's not what the products are approved for, marketing notwithstanding. Also, according to the Belgravia Center for Hair Loss, topically applied or ingested essential oils can also lead to rapid onset permanent hair loss for reasons scientists are just beginning to understand. Yikes. That ain't it, Chief. Alright, angry internet cat lady, you're thinking, I don't have fuzzy friends or kids. I'll get a candle infuser so it'll be safe. I won't eat the oils or rub them on myself. Why shouldn't I buy them to make my house smell nice? Well, random internet viewer or member of my audience, are you worried about the environment at all? I've stressed throughout the video that these oils are concentrated, and when I say concentrated, I mean concentrated. According to the same Nebraska Med article I cited earlier, it takes 50 lemons to make a tiny 15 milliliter bottle of lemon oil. For those of us who use Imperial, so Americans, that's half an ounce. Peppermint essential oil? It's the equivalent to 26 cups of peppermint tea. Lavender? 3 pounds of lavender blooms go to that same tiny little half-ounce bottle of lavender essential oil. Sounds absolutely insane, right? Lemons in particular only grow in certain regions, specifically California and further south, and the habitat destruction that goes on in these areas to meet the demand for human food doesn't need to be augmented just because we want things to smell nice. There are synthetic ways to reproduce the same compounds that don't require acres upon acres of land and water and oil-based fertilizers to required upkeep that land. But we're not only talking about the more common products. What about the more rare plants like frankincense and myrrh? Frankincense, in particular, according to an article linked in the description by National Geographic, is on its way to extinction due to the demand for the essential oil. Frankincense trees only grow in very specific regions in Africa and are notoriously hard to harvest. According to an expert tapped for the article, they should be cut no more than 12 times per year to stay healthy, but when folks up in poverty are trying to provide from their families, venturing into the mountain to harvest for ravenous companies, and the same deforestation for cattle grazing I mentioned earlier happen, these trees are on the brink of being endangered. Keep in mind, these trees are found primarily in Eritrea, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somaliland, among a few other countries, which aren't exactly known for their political stability or consistent governance. Couple this with the fact that forests and outcroppings that they grow in are often far out in the most remote fringes of these countries, and you get a situation where even if there are laws that were passed and they were implemented in good faith to stop this, enforcing it becomes nigh impossible. Desperate people will do anything to care for their families. And if the ravenous demand of countries importing this precious resource doesn't ease up, we might lose one of the most sacred substances found in Hellenism and many other religions to extinction. Similar stories exist around myrrh and sandalwood, both of which are being driven similarly to the brink by excessive demand. And this is compounded because the actual resins for frankincense are being duped and augmented with these other rare oils to stretch them as the quality of the resin diminishes from overharvesting. But, as I mentioned earlier, even those species like roses, lemons, and lavender that aren't at risk at all are still massive environmental hazards when consumed in bulk, as is required to produce these oils. It's not worth the damage that we're doing to the planet, in my opinion, just to have a natural way to make your house smell nice. As if you needed another rather gross reason, essential oils have also been found as components in fatbergs, or massive collections of non-biodegradable material and fats flushed down the drains of kitchens and bathrooms everywhere. These bergs form when fats congeal around these materials in cooler conditions underground, creating these massive biohazards that can block sewer flow and potentially break apart into chunks that go on to harm wildlife where sewers drain out into natural reservoirs, streams, and the ocean. Essential oils and their carriers are oils. They are contributing to the problem and are listed in several articles on the issue, one of which I've linked in the description below. Okay, you're probably in a bit of shock at the moment. So what should I do with the ones I already have? Throw them away? Well, don't pour them down your drain anyway. If you have a pet in your house and you're not absolutely certain you can keep them completely out of any room that you use them in, probably get rid of them, or find a friend who doesn't have pets who might appreciate them, and make sure they have a candle diffuser and understand not to eat or rub the oils on themselves. Otherwise, the sin, so to speak, is at the point of sale. If the oils aren't flying off the shelves or out of online warehouses, there will be less impetus to mass produce them. Voting with your dollar really can matter, and even those of you who want to use such things in spellworks can find dried versions of the plant material for cheaper and safer at local apothecaries, herb shops, and online. Synthetics also exist for many common oils, though I haven't done enough research to know if they're any safer than the regular ones or what their environmental impact might be, so do some of your own research on that front. I highly encourage you to do more research in general on the sourcing and destruction of the environment wrought by these products. As pagans and pagan allies, we are generally concerned about leaving behind a world in at least a decent shape for the next generation. Many of us see that as one of the ways in which we honor the old gods. In my view, at least, in the wake of everything I presented, essential oils just don't fit into the picture. Convenience doesn't make something healthy for you or the environment, after all, and as I've shown in previous videos, you can make offerings to the gods that don't involve burning anything. And if you can burn things, the resins themselves for incense on a charcoal burning puck are going to be loads better and far less concentrated than the essential oil version, and cheaper too. You can get a 2-pound bag of incense for the price of half an ounce of essential oil, and it's gonna go a lot further for your offerings. Plus, it's a lot easier to source where resin is coming from than where an essential oil gets its resin. Like, we don't necessarily know where the companies get it or if they're lying to us. My audience might be a small dip in demand, but if you share this video around to folks who might be suggesting essential oils to one another for religious or health purposes, then we might be able to make a dent in the demand to help slow all the environmental train wreck these products are causing. We're stronger together, after all. Thank you so much for sticking through that. If you're new here, poison the subscribe button and give the like chemical burns. Drop down into the comments and tell me all about the alternatives to essential oils that you've used, or about anything new you might have learned from the video or that surprised you. Or just call me a big pharma shill that just wants to bury the evidence for alternative medicine if that's your speed. Special thanks also to my patrons. You all voted for this video when I did a survey for a while back, and I know that YouTube gets a lot of money from the companies that sell this stuff. Your contributions to every video ensure that I can put out work like this that's at a high risk for being demonetized and still keep the channel lights on. May the cycle of reciprocity between us ever remain positive. And remember, faith ain't fear.